Welcome to this explainer. Look, if you've spent literally any time in the tech industry over the last couple of years, you've undoubtedly felt it. There's this heavy, pervasive anxiety just hanging in the air right now. Headlines constantly declaring the end of coding, massive industry shakeups, and this underlying fear that artificial intelligence is coming straight for our jobs. Honestly, it's enough to make anyone second-guess their career choices. But today, we're going to cut right through all that noise and look at what's actually happening on the ground. So that brings us to the ultimate question on every single developer's mind right now. Is software engineering dead? Are we truly looking at the end of the line for human coders? Well, let's dive into it. Instead of relying on hype and fear-mongering, we are going to look straight at the hard data from 2026 to find out the truth. To understand exactly where we are today, we have to remember where we started. Back in 2022 and 2023, tech hypebeasts and industry forecasters were incredibly confident. They predicted that an absolute massive chunk, 80 to 90% of all coding, would be entirely replaced by AI by 2025. It wasn't just a casual prediction, right? It felt like a direct threat to anyone trying to break into the tech world. Let's get right into Section 1, the broken AI promise. Now, what's really fascinating here is the stark contrast between expectation and reality. Despite tens of billions of dollars in investment, a recent MIT study revealed that a staggering 95% of generative AI pilots have failed to deliver any measurable return on investment. Let that sink in. Almost all the companies adopting these AI coding tools simply haven't seen those meaningful, sweeping productivity gains they were promised. And this brilliantly illustrates the real truth behind the tech layoffs. In 2025, over 1.17 million tech workers were laid off globally. The media was incredibly quick to blame AI automation. But the data? The data shows that only this tiny fraction, just 5%, actually lost their jobs to AI. The vast majority of those layoffs were simply companies correcting for their own pandemic overhiring, and they just used AI as a really convenient PR scapegoat to appease their investors. Which brings us to Section 2, the vibe coding trap. So we have to talk about a mind virus that is currently plaguing the industry right now, and it's called vibe coding. Vibe coding is essentially when you use natural language to prompt an AI to generate an app, and you just blindly click approve without actually understanding the underlying code. It works perfectly fine, right up until it breaks. It's literally like copying homework off a classmate who sounds super confident, but is actually frequently entirely wrong. The absolutely crucial point to understand here is the massive gap between the sandbox and reality. In a predictable, highly controlled, demo-friendly sandbox environment, AI tools look like absolute magic. Think back to those early demos of Devon AI seamlessly building apps. But put that same tool in a chaotic production environment, one filled with weird legacy dependencies, completely novel edge cases, and real-world complexity, and that magic spectacularly fails. AI is fantastic at doing templatized work it's seen a million times before, but it completely breaks down when introduced to novel, complex systems. And the empirical data absolutely backs this up. AI-generated code is actually creating significantly more errors. We're looking at a 1.7x increase in the code error rate. Plus, pull requests are jumping from about 6.4 issues when written by humans to an average of almost 11 issues when generated by AI. So instead of speeding us up, vibe coding has created this massive slop layer of technical debt. Code that technically compiles, sure, but that nobody on the team actually understands or knows how to fix. Let's look at the fallout in Section 3, the junior death spiral. Early on, a lot of executives thought they could just fire all their entry-level developers and let AI do all the grunt work. But when Matt Garman, the CEO of AWS, heard other leaders pitching this exact strategy, his response was beautifully blunt. He literally said, "That's like one of the dumbest things I've heard." Let's walk through the exact domino effect of why that strategy is just incredibly dangerous. Step 1. Companies fire juniors to cut costs. Step 2. They let AI generate all this sloppy boilerplate code. Step 3. Because the juniors are gone, the highly paid senior developers are forced to spend an average of 11 hours a week just fixing AI-generated bugs. They've essentially become glorified AI babysitters. And because of this, studies show these seniors are now 19% slower overall. And finally, step 4, the talent pipeline completely breaks. It's pretty simple. If you don't hire juniors today, you are not going to have seniors in 5 years. The reality of this mistake is hitting the industry hard. Gartner actually predicts that by 2027, half of the companies that laid off workers to replace them with AI will rehire them in what's known as boomerang hiring patterns. They are quietly bringing the humans back, plain and simple, because they realize the AI simply cannot self-correct or navigate complex business context on its own. So where do we go from here? Section 4, the systems orchestrator. In the past, software engineering was all about building the product. Memorizing syntax, typing out React components by hand, writing endless for loops. But today, the job has shifted to building the factory. Think of the Industrial Revolution. Artisans used to make goods entirely by hand, but eventually they transitioned to designing the complex machines that manufactured those goods. It's the exact same thing here. Today's developers are no longer just typists. They're systems orchestrators, managing a fleet of AI agents. Now, to do this successfully, you need to master context engineering. This is your professional antidote to the vibe coding trap we talked about earlier. Context engineering means the human retains complete and total control. You act as the architect, dictating the strict requirements, anticipating the edge cases, and setting the system limits for the AI, and you do all of this before it generates a single line of code. The AI is the fast typist, sure, but the human mind absolutely must still design the architecture. Let's wrap things up with Section 5, the Future Survival Guide. Based on all this data, there are a few absolutely essential skills you need to focus on to stay competitive. First, end-to-end full-stack knowledge. You need a wax-on, wax-off phase where you build apps completely from scratch without AI. Why? So you actually develop the muscle memory to know when the AI is giving you bad code. Second, build your own automated replacements before someone else does it for you. Third, focus heavily on AI enablement for non-coding tasks. Use voice dictation tools like Whisper Flow to dramatically speed up your daily workflows. And finally, and this one is surprising, study the humanities. Look, AI can write code, but it doesn't understand the fickle, complex nature of human consumers. Deeply understanding people is going to be your ultimate moat. Oh, and just a quick warning about getting hired in this new landscape. Traditional memorization interviews, like grinding leet code, they are completely dead. Modern companies really don't care if you can invert a binary tree from memory anymore. Instead, you need to expect complex, unstudied system boundary tests, where the interviewer literally requires you to use AI to solve problems from first principles. They're not testing your memory, they are testing your ability to orchestrate the AI, spot its inevitable errors, and navigate abstract architecture. Well, we've covered a ton of ground today. We've looked at the real data on AI in the tech industry, the serious dangers of vibe coding, and the absolute necessity of stepping up to become a systems orchestrator. So I want to leave you with this somewhat provocative thought to ponder. Will you be the one replaced by AI, or will you step up and become the context engineer using AI to replace everyone else? The tools are already here, the paradigm shift has absolutely happened, and honestly, the choice is entirely yours. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.